The movie begins with a home party being celebrated by astronauts and their families. It seems all the astronauts are ready to accomplish their mission, heading to Mars, which the mission is prepared by NASA. In the mission, there are a couple of astronauts, Woody Blake and Terry Fisher, but it doesn't make happy of the other crew the mission. In the other side, another astronaut is Luke Graham, but his son is not happy because his father is going to Mars, in which he feels sad because of that. Then Luke calmed down of his son. Lately, Jim arrived at the party, which it makes Luke happy. As the evening unfolds, Luke, Jim, and Woody are enjoying their time together. However, the mood takes a turn when Jim brings up his wife Maggie, and a somber expression crosses his face. Once Woody heads home, Luke opens up to Jim, pointing out that the mission should have been one shared by him and Maggie, reminding him of the 12 long years they trained to make it possible. In response, Jim simply wishes him a safe journey to Mars. 13 months into the mission, Jim and his fellow astronauts notice an odd rock formation close by and decide it's worth a closer look. While examining it, Jim contacts the Mars Mission Control Room, explaining to the lead controller that this formation is highly unusual, unlike anything they've encountered so far. He suggests it could be the result of an extrusion from a geothermal column of subsurface water, hoping to reassure them that it may have a natural explanation. As they proceed, a robotic camera leads the way while the astronauts follow, prepared to assess the structure's condition. Suddenly, a peculiar sound fills their communication channel, which they first assume to be interference from the Mars rover. However, as they initiate radar scans, a violent vortex abruptly swirls around the rock formation, tragically consuming 2 of the crew members. A third astronaut suffers fatal injuries when a sharp rock fractures her visor, exposing her to Mars's unforgiving atmosphere. On the other side, Woody and Terry forget their responsibility and they are making love. Meanwhile, they get informed and head to mission control, and Jim explains to them what happened. While they are discussing, they're informed that someone is alive, and Luke was the one who survived, and he told them that something from the mountain hit them, and he told them that his crew members are dead. Meanwhile, Jim and Woody ask their boss, Ray, to rescue Luke, but their boss explains to them that they need to wait to analyze for data because they don't have to lose another life, and he reminds them that Luke might be dead. Then Jim convinces Ray to take the risk and explains that they can go earlier to reconfigure the payload for extra fuel, and reassures him that he modeled the spaceship and that it is capable, and reminds him that he is the one who knows the protocol of Mars because he designed them. Then Woody and Ray gets into a conflict that Woody mentions that there is a problem with the objective of the mission. On mission day 173, Woody points out a dust storm visible on the window screen, explaining to Jim that it originated in the southern hemisphere and is moving in from the east. He urges Jim that they need to speed up their operations, even if it means adjusting their estimated timeline. At the same time, Terry turns up the music, creating a lively atmosphere as the rest of the crew relaxes, enjoying the moment. Woody and Terry start dancing together, caught up in a romantic mood, but their moment is cut short by an alert. They receive an image from the satellite showing what appears to be 3 graves. Shortly afterward, their leader, Ray, grants them permission to investigate the strange occurrences and potentially rescue Graham, sparking a surge of excitement among the team. Jim sits alone, absorbed in old videos of his wife, Maggie, and their children. His quiet moment is interrupted when Woody enters and asks if he's all right. Jim nods, saying he's fine, and returns his focus to the screen. After a pause, he stops the video, turning to Woody and sharing Maggie's belief that something mysterious lies beyond Mars. Woody nods in agreement, acknowledging the possibility. Meanwhile, the spacecraft powers up and begins its journey, but an unexpected accident leaves one of the crew members injured, blood floating weightlessly through the cabin. Acting quickly, Woody uses a medical device to tend to the wound and stop the bleeding. The team also faces mounting technical issues, including a rapidly depleting oxygen supply and a critically failing spacecraft, placing them all at serious risk. The crew springs into action, moving quickly to locate the breach that's compromising the ship's safety. After a tense search, they finally spot the damaged area and carefully apply a liquid sealant, working alongside Woody as he patches up the hole to restore the vessel's integrity. Just as the team seems to be making headway, Jim's oxygen supply unexpectedly plummets, leaving him gasping for air. Terry, noticing his struggle, swiftly brings him a backup supply, helping him breathe normally again. Reinvigorated, Jim joins the others, and together they work tirelessly, reinforcing each weak spot and finally managing to stabilize the spacecraft's systems. Their collective efforts pay off, and the vessel is once again secure, allowing them to continue their mission. Unaware that the fuel tanks were also compromised, the crew ignites the main engines, triggering a catastrophic fuel explosion that destroyed the ship. With little time to react, they wear their pressure suits and abandon the wreckage, attempting to reach the Remo for safety. However, the odds are against them. The Remo orbits faster in a slightly lower trajectory, making it difficult for the tethered astronauts to close the distance. Realizing that their only chance to reach the Remo is a direct approach, Woody decides to use the last of his jetpack fuel to propel himself toward it, carrying a line connected to the others. He manages to attach the line to the Remo, but he can't stop his own momentum and begins drifting away, helplessly pulled toward the planet. Terry, desperate to save him, tries to cut her own line to reach him, but Woody, determined to protect her from the same fate, removes his helmet, ending his life to prevent her from following, which makes Terry sad. In the mission control, a crew member reports to Ray that Remo left its orbit and reached the Martian surface. Ray asks if it crashed, then the man replies that it hasn't. The crew is confused about what happened. But Ray knows that they used Remo, a lander, which makes him mad and points the risk at Jim. Upon reaching Mars, Jim, Terry, and Phil hold a somber ceremony as they lay their fallen comrades to rest, carefully placing the American flag over the site to honor their memory. After paying their respects, Terry and Phil begin inspecting the exterior of the spacecraft to assess its condition after the journey. Meanwhile, Jim steps into the hub, a dim and silent space. Navigating through the darkness, he locates the control panel and activates the systems, successfully bringing the Earth Return Vehicle, ERV, back online and filling the hub with a hum of restored energy. Then, Jim gets into the greenhouse room and calls Phil, and gets confused that most of it is working, but he doesn't see Luke behind his back. Luke, losing control of himself, was about to attack him, but Jim reminds him about Luke's wife and his son. Then he gets his consciousness and reminds all of them. Then Luke asks them what they are doing. Then Jim tells him that they are in the rescue mission. It makes Luke happy, but when he knows that Woody didn't make it, he feels so bad. Meanwhile, Jim asks what happened to the remaining crew. Luke replies in confusion that something from the top of the mountain came and killed them. Then he tells Jim that there is a reason why he left by remaining them all to figure out the reason. Jim and his friends are surprised that Luke has lived for this long, and Jim reassures that he is going to help him recover at speed. Meanwhile, Luke tells them that Renee was the only one which he could find and bury, but he explains that it just didn't seem right somehow to just dig one grave. Jim is confused with the character of Luke, and Jim reminds him about the direction of the Force, which makes mad of Luke because Jim didn't trust him. Afterward, Luke reveals that the unusual structure they encountered is known as the Face. Throughout his time in isolation, he has tirelessly worked to uncover its secrets. Luke shares with the rescue team a crucial piece of evidence, a recording of a strange sound detected near the formation. After months of studying it, he realized that the sound was actually a coded map of human DNA, represented in XYZ coordinates. Working together, the team uncovers the true nature of the mysterious signals. They are a prompt, awaiting the input of a single missing chromosome pair to complete the human DNA sequence, and they do realize that the chromosome seen on the screen is almost similar to a human. Jim and Luke are having a smooth conversation, and Luke cleans his hair. Terry comes to tell them that the backup generator is salvageable and reassures them that they are not in bad shape. Jim gets into the memory of when he saw the chocolate in the ground and tells them that the noise from the Face is not a signature, but it is a test for them. Luke asks why, then Jim explains back that it is a prove that they are a human or not, but still, they don't have solid information about it. Jim turns to Luke with an idea. He suggests they attempt to identify the tonal frequencies that could represent the missing chromosomes, proposing they embed these tones into the recorded signal to see if it reveals any further clues. However, as he shares his plan, a sense of hesitation fills the group. The others express concern about the potential risks involved, each uncertain about the consequences of tampering with an unknown signal. Yet, despite their reservations, Jim remains resolute, ready to take the gamble and push forward with his daring experiment. Meanwhile, the crew sends a robot to transmit the completed DNA sequence, which triggers an unexpected response and makes the crew more excited. An opening appears on the side of the structure. Intrigued, they decide to enter, but Phil is not with them. Instead, control the spacecraft and soon find themselves sealed inside, which makes Terry panic at the same. They lose a connection to Phil, and Jim takes out the cloth, but nothing happens to him. Then they all take out their helmet. To their surprise, they find that the interior contains an atmosphere remarkably similar to Earth's, allowing them to breathe easily. Intrigued, they venture deeper inside and arrive in a massive, shadowed chamber. As they advance cautiously, the darkness gives way to a stunning sight. A three-dimensional holographic projection of the solar system springs to life, casting a soft glow throughout the room. The planets and stars appear in vivid detail, revolving in a mesmerizing dance, leaving the crew awestruck by the mysterious display. A Martian creature appears and, without words, conveys a tragic story from Mars's distant past. The planet had once been vibrant with life, but a catastrophic asteroid, a planet killer, struck, obliterating its ecosystem. Faced with this disaster, the Martians had no choice but to evacuate, seeking new worlds where they could survive and rebuild. As the Martians fled their dying planet, they sent simple life forms to Earth, a lifeless world at the time. This seeding process, spanning billions of years, allowed these basic organisms to evolve, eventually giving rise to humanity itself. The Martian reveals that humans are, in fact, descendants of this ancient Martian experiment, a distant echo of their own species, now returned to the place where their journey first began. As the Martian's image gradually fades, a final invitation appears. Jim is given the chance to journey with the Martians to one of their new home planets, a rare opportunity to reunite with humanity's distant ancestors and witness the next chapter of their shared legacy. The movie ends with Jim McConnell deciding to accept the invitation, bidding an emotional farewell to his crewmates. As the remaining crew sets course for Earth, they watch in awe as Jim, aboard the Martian craft, accelerates away at an incredible speed, hundreds of times faster than their own vessel, venturing toward a new world and an unknown future among humanity's ancient ancestors. And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed the video. Watch the next recaps on the screen, and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing recaps. See you in the next one.